Welcome, everyone. Just when you thought to yourself, we've had one stream, yes, but what about second stream? We get more Tolkien news today. And I'm even more pumped right now because there's a new Tolkien book coming out. And this is like the kind of news that I live for. Like I was just telling Chad before we went live, like inject this feeling into my veins. Because when I saw this cover, I just immediately thought, oh my gosh, I want it, I need it, I have to have it.
Yeah.
So Chad is with Tolkien Guide, the wonderful website. I go to it all the time looking at Tolkien books and deciding what volumes to add to my collection, and they have a great chat community there. So you guys actually broke this news on Twitter just a little bit ago, actually.
Yeah, we did. We broke it on Twitter. We had some. We were in some conversations with our contacts at HarperCollins, and they allowed us. They told us that we were allowed to break it at midnight UK time, which I was the one who put up the listing on the site, and Jeremy was the one who tweeted it out. And so that was, for me, that's 6 p.m. Texas time, and for Jeremy, it's a little bit early in the afternoon. So we had to do a little bit of math and to get the hour correct. But yeah, they let us do it at midnight UK time.
Fantastic. And so yeah, we'll dive right into it. Obviously, the title you can see here, "The Fall of Númenor,"
Good
and
title.
It's
Catchy
a great title.
Yeah.
I mean, it's it's one of those events in Tolkien's history that has far-reaching implications, even throughout the Lord of the Rings. They're talking about Númenor. They kind of yearn for that time when the kingdom of men was in its glory days, and that's obviously a big part of the Second Age is the tale of the fall of Númenor.
Yeah, for a lot of Tolkien fans, I think it's really the only part of the Second Age they're familiar with.
Yeah.
So it's a great title. Like if you are going into a bookstore and you see it on the shelf and you know Tolkien, but you're not an expert, Númenor, at least, the name.
Yeah. So we'll get into some details. I know there's going to be some common questions. So as I see them pop up here in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and bring them up because these are going to be the big questions. So, Jakey, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Did Tolkien write this book? If so, why is it just now being released? And so what we're going to explain here is that this is not an original story. This is not like an expansion of the story. You might think of like something like Children of Hurin, where it was in the Silmarillion, but then we got a more full version of it in its own standalone book. That's not what this is. So what this is a compilation of all of Tolkien's Second Age stories.
Correct.
Compiled into a single book.
Yeah. So what HarperCollins is doing here, and what they enlisted Brian Sibley to do, is they went through all of this Tolkien's Second Age writings, which, as before this, were distributed amongst various volumes like Unfinished Tales, the Silmarillion, various parts of the history of Middle Earth. And what they're doing is they're assembling it into one standalone volume. So you can open this book, The Fall of Númenor, and you can read pretty much every single thing that Tolkien ever wrote about the Second Age in one volume. You don't have to go. Matt and I were talking before we got on, and you don't have to have a stack of 10 books to go to. You can go to just one volume now.
Yes. And that is one thing I'm very much looking forward to because, obviously we have the Amazon series that's in development coming out soon. And I get the question all the time, what should I read to be prepared for that? Like, where are those stories coming from? And it's kind of a complicated answer because you've got the, depending on what they have the rights to, and that's a whole nother topic. But
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. But they want to know, how do I read about the Second Age? Well, that answer is you can look at the appendices in Return of the King, and then you can go to Unfinished Tales, and then you can go to the Silmarillion, and then you can go to History of Middle Earth. Yeah. So you're dealing with books.
And the History of Middle Earth has different drafts, and it's hard to know what is, what to stick with, what's most current, So yeah.
What did Tolkien write latest, and what did what did Christopher Tolkien, as the overseeing editor, of all these books, what did he see as what we should look at as, kind of Tolkien's intended version?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of a mess if you want to read through Tolkien's Second Age. And the cool thing that what Brian has done here is he's also made it chronological in terms of Middle Earth's history. So not like the order that Tolkien wrote it, but like within Middle Earth, these events will happen as they happen in Middle Earth time.
Yeah, so what you're going to get in the book is the book's going to start with the Tale of Years. So it's going to give you some chronological background. It's going to give you some things to keep your dates straight, and then it'll go into the material. Most likely Aldarin and Arendis, things like that, things that are unfinished, and then it'll end obviously with the Calabaith, which is the ultimate Second Age story, and the title of the book, The Fall of Númenor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And I haven't seen the contents of the book, but I'm just speculating. That makes the most sense. Yeah, that makes the most sense.
Yeah. So there's some questions, and there's probably similar questions naming off some of the other Tolkien books.
Mm-hmm.
They ask, is Fall of Gondolin like this? And the same could be asked. It's the same answer for Beren and Luthien. So those two books are presenting.
Those are different than what we're getting here.
Right. Yeah. So those are presenting multiple versions of the same story as Tolkien was developing them. So you're basically getting the same story a few different ways. Whereas
Correct.
This is, here's one story from the Second Age, and then the next thing that happens that Tolkien wrote about, here's that in order. So it will be a variety of story. Basically what Tolkien wrote about the Second Age is going to be here.
Yeah, you're going to get the Tale of Years at the beginning, and then you're going to get things like the tale of the coming of the Edain to Númenor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the description of the Isle. You're going to get things like that. You're going to get, like I said before, you're going to get Aldarin and Arendis,
mm-hmm.
And you're going to get various other. I'm not entirely sure if they're going to be pulling from, for example, like History of Middle Earth Volume 5, The Lost Road. That's got some early Second Age material in there that not everybody agrees is, because Tolkien didn't stick with a lot of those details. So not sure if they're going to be pulling from that, or if they're going to be pulling from things like the Notion Club papers from Sauron Defeated, History of Middle Earth Volume 9. That's got some Second Age stuff in there too. It's still early days with this publication, so we're not entirely sure what they're pulling from History of Middle Earth, but they most likely will be pulling some things in there. And it's different, like Matt said, than like Fall of Gondolin or Beren and Luthien, because with those volumes, Christopher Tolkien is presenting to you the formation of the narrative and how it evolved. Mm-hmm. He's giving you some prose, he's giving you some poetry, and that's not what this volume is going to be. It's going to be different.
Right. And as people have already noticed, Alan Lee has returned to Middle Earth to illustrate this book.
That is correct.
And I love this cover. So
it's great.
This is obviously, the drowning of Númenor. Mm-hmm. And I will point out something we noticed fairly early on.
Oh, very nice. Nice catch.
We have Sauron here. Upon what is a crumbling temple of Melkor in Númenor.
Very nice catch.
Yeah, so I'm curious if anybody else downloads the image and finds any other details. But man, yeah, you've got to love the idea of Alan Lee. There's going to be, including the cover, there's 11 new illustrations.
Correct.
And if this cover is anything to go on, we're in for a treat with that.
Yeah, it's interesting because Alan Lee, the last time I talked to him, or last time we talked to him over at the Guide, he said that he was taking a break from Middle Earth, but I guess HarperCollins pulled him back in.
Smaller break than he
would have liked. Yeah, I thought he couldn't. The Unfinished Tales that was released in 2020. It's got that cool the Arfettazon ship on the cover, and the golden ship, and I thought he couldn't top himself with that. But yeah, man, did he?
It's great. Like I just love the angle, because you get the sense that the entire island is, is shifting.
It's being submerged.
It's on an angle, and you've got this huge wave here,
mm-hmm.
and oh my gosh, I just love it. I could gush over this
Yeah, and
forever.
the sun is red in the background. It's great. It's
Yes.
great
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
And I did see some folks posting. I don't know if these were people who maybe have seen some stuff, but there was some
hmm
people posting that they've heard that this is some of Alan Lee's best work that he's ever done. Is what?
Not I haven't seen any of the illustrations that are actually in the book.
Yeah, I haven't.
I don't
Yeah,
think those have been released yet. But if they're talking about the cover, I mean,
yeah. I mean,
it's already one of my favorite Alan Lee
yeah.
pieces. I mean,
That, like,
and
goodness.
he just did a bunch of new work too for the Folio Society. You know, came out with their publication of the Lord of the Rings about a month ago, and he did some new plates for that book too. So Alan Lee is definitely not taking a break from Middle Earth, and he's doing some of the best work he's ever done, I think, right now.
Yeah, this is, yeah, like you said, one of my favorite pieces. I would say.
Yeah. I didn't catch you made a great point, Matt, about the orientation of the painting and how the island looks like it's being moved. You know, it's slanted sideways.
Yeah, like either it's either falling down here, like something's opened up in the sea down here, or this part of this wave, it's actually moving the island to like flip it or something.
It could be in the background there by the sun just below it. That could be the Minotaur, but I'm not entirely sure. It could be, but I have nothing to.
Whereabouts?
Yeah, right there where your mouse is.
Yeah.
It looks like some geographical features made perhaps the Minotaur, perhaps.
Yeah. I initially wrote that off as waves, but that does kind of look like it could be some.
It could be some sort of rock formation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's even got like courtyards down here.
Yeah, the detail is great.
Yeah, this is fantastic. Like I kind of want a poster of
this.
This image right here.
That's Sauron down in the bottom going, oh man, I took this too far, didn't I?
Right, yeah. Like, oh, maybe I
Oops.
might overdid it a little bit. Man, let's see here. All right, and I wanted to pull up, I've also got Tolkien Society had a short article, and it actually has a quote from Brian. And there was a few questions in the chat about Brian, that people who aren't familiar with Brian. So I actually had him on a live stream a while back, and we mostly talked about his 1981 radio drama that he co-wrote for the BBC. And it is my favorite Tolkien audiobook. And
you're not alone. It's a lot of people's favorites.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And like, if you haven't seen it, you should go watch my live stream with him. We talked for like 3 hours. We were planning on talking for like 1, and we talked for 3 hours. And, the folks at Weta, actually, when he went down there for a visit, they happened to be listening to the 1981 radio drama. And there's a lot of similarities. Like if you listen to that, there's a lot of similarities. It's uncanny how similar some of the cast for the audio drama sound like cast from the films, if you notice. But yeah, it's fantastic. Arguably the most faithful Tolkien adaptation in terms of audio or visual adaptations. But yeah, and maybe you can go into greater detail. Give us kind of a background of Brian's, experience with Middle Earth.
Well, like you said, Matt, Brian, his big claim to fame with Middle Earth is the radio adaptation, but he's done a lot of work over the years for the Tolkien Society. He's done a lot of work over the years. Like you said, he influenced the Peter Jackson films. He's conducted numerous interviews with various Tolkien artists. He, for example, just off the top of my head, he wrote the foreword this year for the 2022 Tolkien calendar that has the artwork by Ted Naismith.
Yes. He's also part of the the Great Tales Never End book that's coming out. That's
true.
a
Yeah, he
tribute
did.
to Christopher Tolkien.
He wrote a fantastic article, which we did a review for that book over on the Tolkien Guide. We have it up on our YouTube channel. So if anybody is interested in purchasing that, go watch our review, and you will not be able to turn it down if you watch our review. Yeah, he wrote a very interesting article in the Great Tales Never End about that radio adaptation. So Brian's done a lot of work over the years for the Tolkien community. I'm not surprised that Matt that you talked to him for 3 hours, because he's got a lot of stories.
He does. There's some great stories in there. Yeah, I highly recommend it. I could spend like the next hour telling you various stories that I found hilarious and entertaining that he told me. But yeah, you guys, if you haven't seen it, go watch it, and yeah, definitely go check out Tolkien Guide's review on that book. I'm still waiting for my copy to arrive in the mail, but I'm very much looking forward to that one. So yeah, I was really excited to see Brian's name on this, because I had no idea that he was involved in this, and
he did a good job of not telling anybody too, because nobody knew he was working on this project. So.
Right. Yeah. So here's the quote I wanted to read from Brian. Okay. This is from the Tolkien Society write-up on this new book. As my many friends in the Tolkien Society will understand, it has been a great honor to have been entrusted with the task of bringing together J.R.R. Tolkien's writings under the editorship of Christopher Tolkien, relating to the dramatic history spanning the Second Age of Middle-earth. I hope that this opportunity to read as a single narrative an account of those years will provide a new appreciation of how the monumental events of the Second Age were to impact on those told in The Lord of the Rings. Also, for Tolkien aficionados, there is a glorious gift of 10 new color plates by Alan Lee, featuring scenes such as the building of Barad-dûr and Galadriel leading the elves through Khazad-dûm.
Oh.
That this master illustrator hasn't previously had the opportunity to depict. So there we even get a little drop, a little hint at some of the other artwork. The building of Barad-dûr.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's because, as we know, the foundation of Barad-dûr, that's tied to the One Ring itself.
Correct.
So that could be interesting.
That's interesting too. Yeah, because Barad-dûr is so symbolic, and just the sheer size that we know Barad-dûr is. It'd be interesting to see it with, if it's on its foundations or if it's halfway built. I'm interested to see where Alan decided to take that in terms of like the stage of the building.
Yeah. I'm very like you said, if this Númenor cover is any indication, I'm very, very excited. And Galadriel leading the elves through Khazad-dûm. That's another one that's very intriguing.
Yeah. They're so that tells me that they are pulling some of the unfinished tales, history of Galadriel and Celeborn. They're going to be pulling from that text. They're going to be including that in the book, which is good.
That's great stuff.
Interesting to see if they pull from, because there's a lot of different versions of the same story in Unfinished Tale. So it'll be interesting to see if they just put them all in there, or if they decided to stick with one. I know Brian said in that little blurb there that it's a cohesive narrative. So they're doing it in chronological order. A single narrative. So that means that they maybe made a choice in terms of what they put in there,
which they felt was more true to the final vision, perhaps, that, where Tolkien might have landed in the end.
I wonder how much they consulted with Amazon too, in terms of what they're doing with the show. Like I'm interested to know how much does the book line up with what they're doing with the show.
See,
if that played into their thought process.
I don't know. Like, I'm kind of one who tends to think that the books are probably not, I would think the books will be the books, and their first priority is going to be on the text, whereas if the show wants to follow suit, then so be it. But I kind of feel the books are the big dog in the cage, so to speak.
Definitely agree. I'm just not entirely sure. And I've talked about this with various people, how much HarperCollins and Amazon are communicating with one another, because they're obviously playing off of one another. In terms of what they're doing,
the release dates.
But I'm not sure how much they're actually in dialogue with one another.
Right. Yeah.
I know people at HarperCollins, but not that well.
Gotcha. You don't have quite the
No.
inside scoop there. Yeah.
No, we're just glad when they email us back.
So Nick says, how well is Brian Sibley? How well known is Brian Sibley among Lord of the Rings circles? I'd say pretty well known, but I'd say casual fans should know him more. Like,
yeah,
I think if you haven't heard of him, you should seek out his work.
Yeah, Brian Sibley is for people who have been in the community for a while and have been following Brian's work. He was a content creator before that was a thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's a fantastic guy too. Such a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, I've seen a couple of people asking about, how much the Amazon influence, like, I think this is, no doubt this is going to capitalize on.
Oh yeah. There's a reason that they're doing this now, obviously.
Yeah. Like it's not a coincidence for sure. But I don't think, someone had asked if they were going to put in things that, the show was creating originally for the show. And I don't think there's any way, no chance, zero chance.
HarperCollins would never say by J.R.R. Tolkien if it's not by J.R.R. Tolkien. They would never ever do that.
Yeah. So
that would hurt the brand.
Fear, yes, it would. So if that fear was going through your mind, you can set that aside. And then the other thing that stuck out to me, and I actually messaged Jeremy who's also from Tolkien Guide, for those of you unfamiliar.
Yeah.
So I messaged Jeremy.
He's camping right now.
Yeah, he's camping. So he said he was on the verge of no internet.
He's sleeping outside for some reason.
So the quote here that drew my attention, the first thing I thought was under the editorship of Christopher Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
So what this tells me, and I messaged Jeremy, and he said that he's getting the same vibe from what he's heard and everything, and like the timeline tracks that at least at the beginning of this process, Christopher Tolkien was still alive and overseeing the construction of, or the foundation of this book. So there was definitely, from the sounds of it, some involvement.
That's
by
not
Christopher Tolkien.
I don't think that's too big of a jump. I mean, definitely.
No, not at all.
They, HarperCollins, they don't do anything on a whim. They plan things definitely pretty far in advance. And so Christopher Tolkien passed away, but he hasn't been gone that long. So that's not. Mm-hmm. I would agree. That's not
2020.
So it's not. It's not a stretch that Christopher could have been involved, and most likely was involved in the early sort of laying out of what would go into this volume, mm-hmm. and what it would look like, and and everything on this, pretty much everything that's been released on the Second Age, Christopher Tolkien edited it originally.
Correct. So. Yeah. And then, oh my gosh, Finn Trago. I'll read it since it's a super chat, but where are the Harfoots? Get out of here with that. They know that Harfoots trigger me, is what it is. They know that I'm.
what is your trigger with Harfoots?
I'm just over hobbits, man. Like, I'm ready for stories that don't have, my thing is like, if you use the unexpected hero too often, then he's expected, and the hobbits are always the unexpected hero. So like, if you just keep using them, then it's like, well, of course the hobbits are going to be the hero. Like,
I'm really hoping that Amazon doesn't lean on that, because that's just lazy. I agree with you if they do lean on that. I think that the Harfoots will be there, but they're going to be in the background, I think, or there may be some one or two that get character development, and there's some sort of they serve some sort of supporting role, maybe.
Yeah.
But
my theory that people seem to really like on one of my streams was that they would all get brutally slaughtered by Sauron, and that would be how we find out.
I hope not. God.
All right. Not. Anyway, let's get past. We're talking books here.
Yeah.
So, Alicia wants to know: can you talk about what will be special about the deluxe edition? Go ahead.
Okay. So HarperCollins has a line that they've been producing since 2004 of various Tolkien titles in a what quote unquote what they call a deluxe edition. And so these volumes, they're a little bit on the higher end. They have the same contents as the what we call the trade volumes, which is what this picture that Matt has up on the screen is the cover art for the trade edition. That's the cheaper one. But it's still, I mean, HarperCollins produces pretty high quality books. But what the deluxe will have is it will have different. It will look different. It will come in a slipcase. Yeah,
Here we have. This is the one from Unfinished Tales.
yeah, so it will look similar. Probably, I don't know this for a fact because I haven't seen any mock-ups, but it probably will look similar to something like this. Yeah. It will have. It'll be of a more fine binding. It will have better paper quality, and the slipcase could be illustrated. It could not be, but it will come in a slipcase, and so yeah. It's a slightly higher end. It looks nice on the shelf. Yeah, typically.
I think the Blackwell's link right now had a $80 US.
Yeah. Hold on, let me show you something that would be could be similar.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like Chad was saying there, this line of deluxe editions, they all kind of have the same general look to them, but there's one for the Silmarillion as well that came out. These have Ted Naismith artwork.
This is an example. This is the deluxe of the Nature of Middle Earth that came out last year. So see, it comes in a slipcase. It's purple. It's got a design on it, and you pull the book out, and it's got, it's what we call in the business. It's quarter bound with a different kind of cloth, and it's got the same design on it. And then you open up, and they usually have something on the end papers. They have this is for Nature of Middle Earth. These are Tolkien's calculations that they put on the end paper. So it'll have something, something that you can only get with this edition. And then Carl was nice enough to autograph mine for me.
Oh, nice.
Which is not. I don't think Brian's going to be autographing anybody's, but he might. if you're nice to him, he might autograph it for you.
That's the key. Be nice. That's a good motto to live by in life, guys. Be nice. And there's the close up.
Yeah. So HarperCollins has done editions like this for every Tolkien volume that you can think of over the years: Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion, Children of Hurin, and so on and so forth. So it's either going to be like the one that Matt showed you with Unfinished Tales. Or it's going to be like something like what you're seeing right now. So the slipcase could be illustrated all the way around, or it could be something like that.
Something like this with a bit of
So we won't know
artwork.
Yeah, we won't know until the mock-ups are produced.
Very cool. The other thing I noticed, at least on the Amazon listing, it has it listed at 320 pages.
Correct. And some of the other listings I've seen, I think on Blackwell's it was listed at, or it might have been Book Depository, it was listed at 400 pages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so there's some discrepancy.
There's some discrepancies there. So what happens is HarperCollins will generate an ISBN for it, and it will get put into the pipeline. And so sometimes book websites will grab the ISBN and they'll put up something, and the details can change. If it's really early on, we always tell people don't pay too much attention to the details because they could change.
All right. And there's a little bit more. We have a couple quotes we can kind of conclude and wrap up here with. We've got another quote from Brian and then also one from Alan Lee. Brian says, since the first publication of the Silmarillion 45 years ago, I have passionately followed Christopher Tolkien's meticulous curation and scholarship in publishing a formidable history of his father's writings on Middle-earth. I'm honored to be adding to that authoritative library with The Fall of Númenor. I hope that in drawing together many of the threads from the tales of the Second Age into a single work, readers will discover or rediscover the rich tapestry of characters and events that are a prelude to the drama of the War of the Ring as told in The Lord of the Rings. And I love that, he pays homage to Christopher Tolkien's curation and scholarship. Like I love, like, the work of Christopher Tolkien is one of the greatest literary achievements in my mind
Right.
of all time. It's
And
incredible.
if you like that, wait till you read The Great Tales Never End. You're going to
Oh,
love
I'm so
what
excited.
Brian says about Christopher in there.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't, we know this. If it wasn't for Christopher Tolkien, our understanding of Middle Earth would be The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, and that's it. That'd be all that we had.
We'd have all these references in Lord of the Rings that we'd be like, okay, I wonder what that's about. like, oh yeah,
I'll never know.
Aragorn mentions like Baron and Luthien and something, and like, all these name drops that would have no meaning whatsoever if it
No,
wasn't for Christopher Tolkien.
yeah,
And then Alan Lee says, it is a pleasure to be able to explore the Second Age in more detail and learn more about those shadowy and ancient events, alliances, and disasters that eventually led to the Third Age stories we are more familiar with. Wherever I had the opportunity when working on The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, I tried to imbue pictures and designs with an appropriate antiquity and overlaying of history and of echoes of those older stories. And The Fall of Númenor has proved a perfect opportunity to dig a little deeper into the rich history of Middle Earth.
very cool.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I'm very excited. Like, I don't know what else to say at this point. I think that's a good, kind of conclusion to hear from Brian and Alan.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
so for those maybe catching late, obviously this is not new in the sense of new writings like Nature of Middle Earth was, but it is exciting in my mind because we are having all these Second Age stories in one place. Like we said
Yeah.
earlier, if you wanted, you couldn't really sit down very easily anyway and read the story of the Second Age if you wanted to.
No,
You'd have to bounce around.
Yeah, and you'd have to own all the volumes, and you'd have to know where to go.
Yes.
So,
Which is
and
probably the biggest thing is
yeah,
like knowing where to go in all of those volumes.
correct. And so now you can buy this volume, and you can have it all right there in front of you. All you have to do is flip through the table of contents.
Yeah. Well, I am super pumped. So any final thoughts, Chad, before we let you go?
I would say that when Alan Lee says these ancient events that are happening, he really does mean that, because remember that the start of the Second Age is 6,000 years before the events of what we know in the Lord of the Rings. So
yes,
it is a very, very long time before Frodo and Sam and everybody does their thing.
Absolutely. And I mean, these are, the Númenor in particular, that we get the title from here. These are some truly incredible civilizations in the history of Middle Earth. Like, the first age has no shortage of great civilizations, but they're always plagued by Morgoth. And,
Correct.
here in the Second Age is unique because you get to see some truly incredible civilizations that actually have a chance to thrive. And, there's been no shortage of great Númenor artwork over the years, but I'm excited to see what Alan Lee has come up with. And again, just having it all in one single narrative, as Brian said.
Yeah, and if anybody out there has any questions about this volume or any Tolkien volume, really, come on over to TolkienGuide.com and we'll help you out.
Absolutely. So there you go, folks. Check out Tolkien Guide. They've also got a YouTube channel that they've been posting. You guys have been posting videos on the regular here lately, and doing reviews of things like Great Tales Never End.
Yeah, we're trying to get our small channel going. We're small but mighty. We're just getting started,
that's how everybody starts at zero, man. You guys are trucking along and doing great stuff as always.
So are you, man.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, yeah. Oh, that'll be it for this one, guys. Nice, short, simple stream today. If you didn't pick up on this, I am very pumped about this. I am always going to be excited about a new Tolkien book.
It's a big deal.
Well, it's not really new. The tie-in covers weren't, I didn't get all that excited about those. But this is the kind of stuff I get excited for. So yeah, so a new thing to add to my shopping list. I've got some links in the description if you guys are interested in looking at the pre-orders. I don't think most of them don't even have the artwork up yet, but
No.
they're the links that you'll need eventually. And I'll also throw in the link to Tolkien Guide's YouTube channel as well, so you can go check them out. And barring any other big Tolkien news, I'm going to sign off, and I won't see you guys live for a little bit at least.
We got to sleep sometime.
Yeah, I got to sleep sometime. I thought I was going to get a lot of work done on my video for Saturday. But yeah, people had other plans for me today. Apparently, we're just releasing Tolkien news left and right. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me today, Chad. It was a great impromptu stream.
Yeah, it's fun.
Exciting to see a new Tolkien book and some great new Alan Lee artwork. So once again, folks, it is the Fall of Númenor. It is coming November 10th of this year, and it'll be your go-to for the Second Age of Tolkien, edited by the wonderful Brian Sibley. And with that, we'll sign off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next time on Nerd of the Rings.